Agoraphobia can be described as fear of the marketplace. So basically, you're like fearful to leave your own home. And I experienced it like open spaces you're afraid of. You just feel uncomfortable in open spaces.
Hi guys, this week we're talking all about anxiety on AuthenticTalks. We're talking about anxiety because between the ages of 13 to 14 years old, there's a 31.4% diagnoses of anxiety disorder. Between the ages of 15 to 16, it is 32.1%, and between the ages of 17 to 18, it is 32.3%. Just within the last year was around 19.1% of adults had anxiety disorder, and lifetime rates were even higher at 31.1% according to the National Institute of Mental Health. This week, our guest is going to share her experience that she has had with anxiety and share with us the underlying factor that triggers that anxiety. Also, did you know that a ton of us have that when we're going on job interviews, or some people have it when they're speaking in front of people, like public speaking events? There's just so many different ways that anxiety can show up. And I invited our guest on this week so that she could share 3 of the 15 ways that she has in her book with us on how we could minimize and control anxiety. Get a pen and a notebook so you can take some notes and be able to have some takeaways, because this is good stuff. This podcast is all about authentic conversations. It's all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and expand in your life and become your authentic self, this is the podcast for you. Hi guys, welcome back to Authentic Talks. I'm excited about this week's show. Our guest today, you guys, is an author. She graduated from Rutgers School of Business with a degree. She answered her calling. She had been dealing with something for most of her life called anxiety, amongst other things, you guys. And she decided to write a book to share her journey and give us some gems on what we can do to help minimize or control our anxiety. Please welcome to the show, you guys, author Tara Hayes, who wrote the book called From Irrational to Rational: 15 Ways to Reduce Anxiety. Hi, Tara. How are you?
Good, how are you, Shanta?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I'm really excited to have you here, Tara, on Authentic Talks. I'm excited to talk about your book. I love it. I've been reading the book, Irrational to Rational: 15 Ways to Reduce Anxiety. I have to ask, what motivated you to write your book?
Well, what motivated me to write my book was my own experience with anxiety. And I was actually going through a tough time in my life. I had just lost my job, and this was the second job I lost in a 10-month period. I was like, oh my goodness. So that was like a complete blow to my confidence. And I was like, what am I going to do? I had to find my path. After that experience, I thought maybe that I wanted to do like online tutoring. So I just like was really reevaluating my life after that. So I was like, do you want to be an online tutor? Like, because I always thought like teaching may have been my thing. My mom was like, oh, you should be a teacher. She always said that to me for years. But then I kind of like strayed away from that. So then I was like, well, let me revisit this. So then I looked into like online tutoring for Asian kids, like kids in China, to teach them English. So then that didn't quite work out. So I was like, well, what else can you do? So I was literally looking online, and I found a course where you could be like a self-publisher. When I saw that course, I was like, I think I could possibly do something with this. At that point, I sat there and I reflected. I was like, what can you write about? I was like, something that a lot of people go through, something that I go through. First thing that came to me was anxiety, because it's an experience that most people experience, and it's relatable, and a lot of people have it. And I thought that people want to hear it from somebody who's actually been through it.
Absolutely. I know several people that tell me that they have anxiety, and I think that we all have a little bit of it inside of us. And
Hmm.
I guess it boils down to how you're able to control it. Is that what you think?
Yeah, I do think it boils down to that, like how you're able to control it, because and it's how you react to it. I've seen books where they're like, "Oh, eliminate anxiety fast," or "Get rid of it forever." But the truth is, everybody has anxiety, and you're never going to fully get rid of it. It's just a time and a place for it. If you have it 24/7, then that's a problem. Like there's different types of anxiety too. There's good anxiety, there's bad. Like there's good anxiety where you're like excitement for an event, but bad anxiety is when you're just constantly like your heart's constantly racing, your stomach is constantly churning. Now that's bad anxiety. You don't want that because that starts to wear down on your body. Get rid of anxiety, but you can choose how you react to it.
If you have what's called good anxiety, what does that look like for you?
An example of good anxiety would be like excitement. You're excited like to maybe do like an interview, like this kind of situation. Last night I was so excited that I could barely get myself to sleep. So
Ah,
that's what I call like good anxiety.
uh-huh.
So
So it feels kind of like an anxious feeling.
yeah, it's like anticipation of like a good event that's happening for you.
Oh, I've
So
had that.
um yeah, so you've got good anxiety.
Oh, that's awesome. And then what's an example of bad anxiety?
Bad anxiety is when you feel like when it's almost like depression. It's you get like you get thoughts and worked up about a situation like or something that you can't control. For example, I had gotten like bad news from a doctor like, about a situation I was going through,
Hmm?
like a health situation.
Yes.
So I automatically like my breathing became erratic and I automatically like just began like stressing and worrying about it. So that's an example of bad anxiety. That's what you don't want because all your senses are heightened, you know, you're aroused, you can't breathe, you can't catch your breath. That's what bad anxiety is. And that's what you need to get a hold of like when those thoughts start spiraling out of control. That
Mm.
yeah, that's an example of bad anxiety.
As I was reading through the book, I had run across something that I was not familiar with, and
Mhm.
it's called gore.
Agoraphobia.
Yes. I've heard of phobias before, but what is that?
So agoraphobia can be described as fear of the marketplace. So basically, you're like fearful to leave your own home. And I experienced it like open spaces you're afraid of. You just feel uncomfortable in open spaces. Get anxiety with it. So like it's the opposite of claustrophobia. Like claustrophobia, you've heard of that one, right?
Yeah,
Claustrophobia.
I have that. I don't like being in small or tight spaces, and I start to feel as if I'm going to suffocate.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but only in open spaces. I know it's weird.
I don't think it's weird. I can relate to that, and it makes me go, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow," because the feeling I get
Mhm.
in tight spaces is ridiculous. It's like it's to the point where I'm telling you, Tara, I feel like I almost could die, like being in a small closet or just in a place where I don't
Mhm.
have room to turn around or a space that's a certain size. I don't like that. So when you use that as an
Mhm.
example, it helps me to understand more what that feels like. And that sounds like, wow.
Right.
I
That's what it is. Like you can be anxious just about anything. Like anxiety is irrational, which is why I titled the book From Irrational to Rational.
So what do you do to cope with that if you're like in a large open space?
What I do is I just start saying positive things to myself. Like even on the drive to work, sometimes I start just getting like a hint of anxiety. So then I just start saying, this is a beautiful world that God has created. Like this is nature. So it's something that I can't control. This is the world that we I have to live in and it's going to be here. It's here before I got here and it's going to be here when I leave here. So that's how I kind of put that into perspective and calm my anxiety down with that.
Are there times where you feel like you can't go to work?
It
Or
used to be where I felt like I couldn't go to work or school because I was anxious everywhere that I went. But I just had to, I knew that it is something that I had to do. And no matter how bad I was feeling, I just kept going. Like, no matter how lightheaded or how my palms are sweating, you know, I just kept going. And I just
mm-hmm.
listened to what my dad said. Like my dad, yeah, he has anxiety as well. But I would have talks with him about it. And he said, well, Tara, the best therapy is life. I had no intentions of ending my life, so I had to continue my life. That's basically what I did. I knew what I had to do, and I just kept going. You just have to face it. Like a lot of people run away, but when you run away from your anxiety, that gives it more power over you, and it gives you, it gives it more energy. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kept facing it, facing it, facing it every day until it subsided.
Wow, that's awesome. I know. So I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was telling me that she has anxiety and that sometimes it gets so bad that, like, she has, like, issues, I think she was saying, with, like, breathing. It gets to a point where there's medications that people have to take. I was reading in
hmm
your book, there was a part about seeing a psychiatrist. How does that work?
Well, I first saw a psychiatrist when I was 15 years old. I just had so many fears. Like I had like religious fears. Like my mind, like, do you know what an intrusive thought is?
No, I don't.
So an intrusive thought is like basically a thought that you can't control. It just comes into your mind and then catch on to it. You're like, oh my God, why did I think that? And that's why it becomes intrusive because you notice it. Believe it or not, we have like 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of them just float through and you don't pay it much mind. But as soon as you pay that one thought that just pops out, that's when you like it becomes like an obsession. So that's what an intrusive thought is, a thought that just, it comes through and you give it your attention and you just put so much energy into it.
Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, so I started seeing a psychiatrist when I was 15 years old because I just had so many fears. I just had religious fears where I would say I thought my mind would say bad things about God, almost like they're your thoughts, but it's not your thoughts. I felt like there was something invading my mind. I always had like an overactive imagination. So it almost felt like an outside force was in my mind telling me these things, these intrusive thoughts. And then the intrusive thoughts would build up anxiety because I'm like, why is my mind saying this? After the intrusive thoughts, that's when I was put on an antidepressant. Something in me never really agreed with it. Like I always said, like, oh, this is a placebo effect. And I never really like there's theories about the chemical imbalance in your brain. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I never really accepted that. Like and then the antidepressant is supposed to balance the chemicals in your brain. But for me, it just it just never sat well with me. And I was on and off that prescription medication for 14 years.
Mm.
Like I would take it, feel better, then I would get off. Take it, feel better, get off. It was like a cycle for me. And then I would have like episodes where I would just have these different fears. And I found out that it doesn't matter what you like, it doesn't matter the theme you have. The behind every theme was fear. So it doesn't matter what you're afraid of. It doesn't matter if you're afraid of that you're going to get germs. It doesn't matter if you're afraid of like the religious fears I used to have. It doesn't matter. The one thing that stood behind it was fear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually realize that the theme didn't matter and just start actually kind of accepting your thoughts, the more that you accept them and not resist them, they'll start to subside. That's what I started doing because the prescription medicine just wasn't working for me. I mean, not that it just didn't sit well in my spirit, which is why
Right.
I
So is that what you were talking about when you say why you began saying no to drugs? It was
exactly,
those
exactly.
the prescribed medication.
Yes,
I
I was prescribed like antipsychotics. So I didn't know it at the time. I was taking the drug, and then my psychiatrist told me a side effect could be stiffness. So if you start feeling stiffness, let me know. I don't know if I was feeling stiffness or not, but it could have been in my mind. But I don't know if I was feeling it or not. But I was like, oh, I'm feeling stiff. So then she took me off, and she put me on another drug. So one day I was sitting there. I was like, I wonder what these drugs are for. And then it said it was usually used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar. So I was like, what? I freaked out, and I was like, I'm not bipolar. I'm not schizophrenic. So I took myself off of that medicine. I was like, I'm done blindly taking pills because I trusted the doctor who's prescribing these things for me, and
mm-hmm.
I took myself off after that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that it was only recently over the last few years it feels like there was a burst that happened or something where all of a sudden I started hearing about all of these different things. And I guess what it was is growing up, everybody was so private and they didn't talk about like certain things that was happening with them. And then another
Right.
generation came along and they were like, hey, I'm going to talk about this. It happened like around the Oprah time. People would come on and they would open up and talk about their things that was that 80% of stuff that you never talk about because you don't want to be judged or be put in that position and stuff.
Right.
And they made it become
Right.
where people can talk about it now. And I love that. I absolutely love it because there's so many people that have certain things, like especially anxiety. I think there's
Right.
different levels to it, like we were saying earlier. I love your book.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna
Thank you
finish
so
the
much.
book. I think that it's really nice for people to know because people know that other people have anxiety or things that they're going through, but it's really nice like when someone shares their story and then they say, hey, this is what I dealt with, because maybe they're thinking like that their situation could feel extreme.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so your book is good because you go through details of the different things of how 15 ways to reduce anxiety. And of the 15 ways, are you able to share 3 ways that someone could
Sure.
reduce anxiety? And then we're going to tell them later in the show how they can buy that book.
All right. One of the ways that I've been working on is mindfulness. Now, this is have you heard of mindfulness before, Shante?
I have. It's something that I actually do. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if it all looks the same or anything, but I definitely think it's amazing.
right. Yeah, there's so many ways. Like they have like mindfulness meditations on YouTube. It's something like when I was looking for like a solution for my anxiety. Well, that wasn't the first solution that I went to. Well, let me back up a little. Like the first time, let me keep going. So
You're fine. You can take your
mindfulness.
time.
Okay, so yeah, mindfulness is being in the present moment. If you're not in the present moment, then you're in the past, and the past is depression. And if you're in the future is anxiety because you're anticipating. You're like, what am I going to do? What about this bill coming up? Or what about this, doctor appointment coming up? So if you're in the future, you're missing today. So, and all we really have is this moment. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, the next 10 minutes. All I really have is the moment that I'm sitting here right now. So if you're in the present, you should be able to, that's a great way to like, reduce anxiety. So you're just being in the present moment and you're just, absorbing your surroundings. You're take notice of your breathing. You take notice of, you observe your thoughts as they're going through your mind. So, that's
Mm-hmm.
what yeah, that's what mindfulness is. And I haven't mastered it. I'm working on it. So that's one of the ways to reduce it. So I actually, well, this isn't considered like, I don't think this one is a mindfulness meditation, but this meditation that I do like at night before bed is called Kundalini. Have you ever heard of Kundalini?
I have. Kundalini is all about like the energy in your body and moving it around.
Right, right, right. And well, I'm in therapy. I'm not afraid to admit that anymore.
Yeah,
So
that's all
my
part
ther
of healing. Being able to open up and share certain things like that, it's a part of a healing process too.
right, right.
Yeah. But
So
well,
I actually found out about Kundalini from my therapist, and she said that one of my energy centers, like my root chakra, is probably blocked and not spinning correctly, which is probably why I have anxiety. Because
mhm.
yeah, when that root chakra is blocked, that's when you have anxiety, you have all the fear. So the Kundalini is what helps you, let go of your fear and open up your energy to flow freely and and cleanse through your body. I really
What
do like that.
what do you do? Like is it like where you sit in a certain position and breathe? Like how do you open up that
I actually Oh, I actually just listen to it as I'm a as I'm a getting. I
yeah.
actually just listen to it as I'm getting ready to go to sleep. So I
Oh,
put it on, I breathe, and then the instructor is like a gong meditation in there. So he said, even if you fall asleep basically, or even if your subconscious is always listening. So the work is always being done. So I just lay down, I take a few breaths, I listen to it, and then my mind just starts like fading out and I fall asleep before it goes off.
oh, that's cool. And that's on YouTube?
Yeah. It's actually on Audible. It's called, yeah, I think it's just called Kundalini Meditation by, I can't pronounce his name. It's a foreign name. It's called Hari Jivan. Let me see.
Mm-hmm. I understand chakras, and that's a real thing. And
Mm-hmm.
breathing and energy moving in our body. And I heard that that's why people take up yoga as well, to get like the energy
Right.
moving and to open up their chakras and to do different things like that.
Right, right. And I did get into like a yoga class. I have to start it up again. Like my normal work schedule permits me from going currently. Yeah, I would actually love to get back into yoga.
Yeah, I heard it's good. I
So,
tried it before. It was hard. And someone said, you had a hard time breathing. And I'm like, it was the poses at that time.
yeah, I forget the name of the poses. Yeah, but I understand. I remember the tree pose. I remember, yeah, there were several different poses. I can't think of them all right now. When I did go, I did enjoy it, and my instructor taught us like the triple goddess phase. I don't know if you've ever done that one.
No, I haven't. But I'm sure I will
Okay, yeah,
one day.
yeah, yeah. So are we ready for the next one?
We are.
Okay. So the next one of my favorite ones is to laugh and smile. When you laugh, your brain releases that happy chemical, the
Those
endorphins. And
endorphins, yeah.
yeah, like I know it's hard to go from like one emotion, like one extreme emotion to the next, but if you could learn to just shift your energy to just like shift that emotion, because anxiety and laughter can't exist in the same, like they just can't exist together. So I say that laughing would actually reduce anxiety. Like if you think about it, you could be like in a bad mood, and then you'll get like a text message, maybe like a funny text like from a friend or something. So if you get that, then that'll make you laugh. So you can't really they can't exist together. So if people could learn to laugh through it, then they could help with their anxiety. And I'll give another example. There's a book that I read of. It's called The Secret. Have you heard of The Secret?
Oh, I have. I love The Secret.
Yeah, I remember reading a part in there where some woman, she had cancer. So, like, she had breast cancer. She would watch movies every day, and she would laugh when she watched the movies. And she claimed that the laughing of the movies at the movies is what healed her cancer. So I figured, like, if she could laugh her way out of cancer, we can laugh our ways out of anxiety.
Wow, I love that.
The last one that I like is Call It On. I learned this in two different books. There's a book called Panic Away by, his name is Barry McDonough. Yeah, he gave the technique where you actually call the fear on. You actually ask for more of it. So I really, really like that technique, because there's times when I would just be in my house and I would just be like, I would just have like, I don't know what I would be thinking, but I would just feel so overwhelmed. And then after I couldn't take it anymore, I would just get up. I'm like talking to myself and talking to my anxiety. I'm like, give me the biggest panic attack you can just right now.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm begging for it. I'm like, come on, please, just give me that panic attack. And you know what happens? Nothing. That's because I'm actually challenging it, and I'm taking that fear away from it. So if you take
Yeah.
that emotion, that fearful emotion away from anxiety, it loses its power.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard that, and I love it. Huh.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Wow, that's interesting. And so, your book, From Irrational to Rational 15 Ways to Reduce Anxiety, if someone wanted to pick the book up, where can they find it?
It's currently only on Amazon.com and only in e-format. I haven't, so it's just an ebook for now. If they don't have a Kindle, they can actually download the Amazon Kindle app. I believe it's free, so they can get it that way if they don't have like an ebook. Or even if they want it like a physical copy, I'd be more than happy to send a PDF version.
In the area where you talked about talk it out, is that what you were saying? Like you're talking and saying like bring it on, or is that it's like talk it out and walk it out?
I thought about the rap song when I was writing "Talk It Out." It goes now walk it out, now walk it out. That's why I said that's why I
Yeah.
said that. I just thought about yeah,
Yeah.
that just came to my mind for whatever reason. Yeah, when I say talk it out, I mean like talk to your family about it. Don't hold it in. I used to internalize my anxiety a lot because I didn't want to embarrass myself. I would have panic attacks, but I never had one where you could look at me and tell I was having one, because I didn't want to embarrass myself and people thinking like, "Oh, what's wrong with her?" When I say talk it out, I mean actually like talk to your family, talk to a therapist if you need a therapist, because that's helpful as well. But just don't overdo it, because if you keep talking about it like so much, it becomes an obsession. I
Mm-hmm.
went through that where I would just keep talking over and over and over about my whatever I was dealing with. I had to learn how to self-soothe. I learned that from my therapist. She said, stop going to your mom, your dad, your sister every time. Just know within yourself that you're okay. And if you feel that you're not okay, just remind yourself that you are. So,
Mm-hmm.
talking is good, but just don't overdo it. Talk to your family, talk to your therapist, talk to whatever support system that you have. So, just
Mm-hmm.
don't hold it in, because you don't have to. You've got people that'll support you with it.
You mentioned something about like being a kid and that you felt that you had anxiety at that time as a
hmm
little girl. Let's say if there's a kid out there right now, how old were you when you said that you.
I had to be about 9 years old, and I didn't know what it was. I remember being in the church. It was during a service, and I just felt lightheaded, and I just felt like my heart pounding and my stomach churning, and then where I would just put my index finger between my eye and just start shaking my whole hand. And I don't know why I did that. And then my sister would look at me and like, what is she doing? Why is she doing that? After I left the situation, I was fine and I didn't think about it anymore. But then as I got older and I reflected, and I was like, that was anxiety I was experiencing back then. I just didn't know what it was.
Did you find that it was easy for you to write the book?
I felt it was pretty easy. Like with the title, it just came to me. I was like, I didn't change it one time. I was like, whatever comes to me, I'm just gonna go with it. So I was like, well, what is anxiety? So I was like, what's the opposite of irrational thinking? Rational. So I was like, oh, from irrational to rational. And then I knew I was trying to display natural ways. Maybe I'll come up, with 15 natural ways to reduce it. That's how the title was born. It took me, I think I started writing it in October and I published it in December. So it didn't take very long, to
October of
write it.
last
And
year?
I just, yep,
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
yeah. It didn't take, I mean, it's a short read. So it didn't really take that long to write it. And I just remembered all the fears that I went through. And I was hoping that it would be relatable to other people. And there's like just so much, like so many fears that people are afraid to talk about. I was reading up on a form of OCD. People have like POCD. That stands for pedophilia OCD. They're afraid of children. They're afraid to come near children because they're afraid they're going to hurt them or they're going to do something. I guess they can
Mm-hmm.
have like sexual thoughts about them, but it's not them. It's the OCD. It's like a monster. It's not them. It's the monster that's going on in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even though they know they wouldn't do it, it still like kind of takes over their mind. So, um, like when some people, like a lot of people won't come forward with that. So, because then they're like people are going to think, oh, you're a pedophile. So, and if I
Mm-hmm.
had that form, I probably wouldn't come forward. I probably wouldn't come forward with it. But
I'm not laughing because I
yeah,
don't
no, I know,
know.
I know.
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's like I. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. And when you said that, I thought about it, and I yeah, that one would be tough. Like.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll
Like.
they'll get judged immediately.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. But at least,
Yep, it's a
hopefully
thing
that.
though.
Yeah. Hopefully they would get help for it. To
Mhm.
help them walk through that process. So yeah, I don't know if
Mhm.
it's because I just all of a sudden just started paying attention, but it felt like one day I woke up, Tara, and like everybody had anxiety. Everybody was bipolar. And then I turned my
Right.
head to the left and everyone had OCD. And I was like, wait, back up. Where is all this coming from? And it was because people started becoming more and more open. Like people, they want to help each other. Your book is going to really
mhm.
help people. And there was a little bit talking about positive thoughts. Can you share with me in what ways you feel that helps with anxiety?
So what I do is I tell myself when I'm really feeling bad, I tell myself, you're bigger than anxiety. There's so much to see, so much to do in this world like that I haven't done. So I'm not minimalizing anxiety, but you got to realize that you're stronger than what you think.
Mm-hmm.
You're not powerless to it. You're not hopeless to it. You really are the one in control. You really are in the driver's seat. You'll have intrusive thoughts, but you can change your perspective on it, or you can choose how you react to it. So, and I still deal with this. I deal with this. I still deal with anxiety. And,
Mm-hmm.
just because I wrote this to help other people doesn't mean that I'm exempt from anxiety.
Right.
Yeah, I almost felt like, oh, why am I anxious when I wrote this book to help other people? And I'm like, well, I had to really think, just because I'm trying to help somebody else doesn't mean that I'm automatically exempt from it, because that's not it. Like I have to keep working on it too. And I think a lot of people with anxiety don't realize that it's something that you have to keep working on. Like I used to think, I just want this anxiety to go away. I just want to pray it away. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's like a muscle. You have to keep flexing that muscle every day. You eat food every day to nourish your body. It's the same thing. You have to feed your mind. You have to do things to eliminate your anxiety. And it took me a long time to understand that, because I was like, I don't want to do anything for it. I just want it to go away. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to realize that there's no magic pill. There's no magic prescription pill, there's no magic pill. It's just something that you have to work on, something you have to be patient with, something you have to be consistent with. So those are my positive thoughts. I tell myself whenever I'm feeling anxious, or I'm bigger than this. It's so much more of this world. There's bigger problems than to be sitting around anxious, especially for no reason. So
Right. Wow, that's good stuff. If someone wanted to find you, Tara, how could they find you?
I'm on Instagram. My name is, well, it's your girl underscore Tara, and it's GURL. So it's not GIRL. So I can spell the whole thing out. It's YOURGURL underscore TARA.
Okay, and that's Instagram. Was there any other platforms that you have out there or websites that you wanted to share?
I'm also on Facebook. I have an author page. I'm in the process of building that author page up, and I don't have a website yet. So, but I do also have an author page on Amazon. So if they were to find my book, they'll see like about the author, and they'll be able to follow me on Amazon.
Is that the ACL?
The ACL? Oh, the ARC reader.
What is that?
Oh, I would have to get that's advanced reader copy. I haven't started working on my second book yet. As a member of my ARC team, they'll be able to get the next book prior to the release date. They'll have like input in my next book. Like if they want to share their story with me, I'm open to that too. If they want to share their story with me, if they wanted to give me like ideas so I could share their story or whatever they would want included in the next book.
And that would be your email address?
Yes.
And can you share the email address again for me?
Sure, it's Tara, Tara, Hayes, Hayes, books, Books, @gmail.com. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. So, and that really resonates with me, because I was fearful to publish this book. I was like, this is like a big step for me, like getting out of my comfort zone, like publishing this book. I was like, well, I wrote this book, so I did all this, and it may help someone. I got to go ahead and publish it. If I didn't publish the book, I know I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
So if I let that fear in the way, then I wouldn't have published it. But since I published it, I'm fulfilling the want that I had of helping people. So
Mm-hmm.
everything you want is on the other side of fear. And if you have a desire to be anything, like a singer, or actor, or entertainer, if you're afraid to do it, if fear is in the way, as soon as you get that fear out of the way, what you want is on the other side of it.
I love that.
Right. Don't die with your music still inside of you. What that quote means to me is, just don't live your life without actually trying to pursue what you really want to do. Whatever you're passionate about. If you fail, you fail. But as long as you've tried, then you tried your best. I like art. I like to draw. I haven't posted anything yet because I feel like my skills aren't where they need to be. But I know that if I were to die tomorrow, like the art that I do have, I would want my sister to publish it. So,
Mm-hmm.
like my twin sister. I haven't, but I'm hoping to get it out there before, so I don't want to die with talent still inside of me,
Inside you.
basically.
Thank you so much for your time today and coming on the show. I'm sending you lots of good energy and much
Thank you
success.
so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I really thank you for the opportunity.
Wow. I just want to say thank you to Tara for sharing her story with all of us and for being so open and honest about the things that she has experienced. I wanted to share with everyone some of the common causes of anxiety. It's not always related to an underlying condition. It may be caused by stress that can result from work, school, personal relationships. It could be caused by emotional trauma, financial concerns, by chronic or serious medical conditions, a major event or performance, side effects of certain medications, also by alcohol consumption, drugs such as cocaine, and a lack of oxygen. There are many ways that you're able to treat anxiety with self-care treatment. Some of them could be exercising daily, maintaining a positive attitude, getting enough sleep. I just want to share with everyone that if you have certain symptoms, you may need to see a doctor. If you notice things like the anxiety is interfering with daily tasks, if after a previous history of anxiety, the anxiety is accompanied by insomnia, or if you have depression that is typically longer than the 2 weeks. Also, if you have suicidal thoughts, and if you think that you're having a panic attack. Just remember, guys, that anxiety comes on many different levels and that it may look different in each of us. You guys, I also wanted to talk about OCD. Google it, look it up. Tara did talk about something that is very serious related to OCD. It's a little bit more than what we had thought it was for many years. It does talk about intrusive thoughts and goes into some details. And if you or anyone you know could be suffering from a form of OCD where it's intrusive thoughts and it includes children, please definitely help them seek the help that they need. And I encourage you to get that help as well. The show is intended to inform us, to educate us, to help us to grow, and just make us aware of the things that we possibly may have not been aware of. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Shanta with Authentic Talks.
Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Don't die with your music still inside of you.